On our last video, I showed you guys how to repair badly damaged snowshoes. Today, we're going to go through my sled that I pull along with me in the wintertime and everything that I have for equipment for doing logging this time of year. So I'm going to take the camera and show you what's in here. I keep this stuff all in my gatehouse ready to go, usually not this well organized. If you look in here, I've got a variety of gloves, the best of which are these US military mittens that I have. I only use these when I'm in extreme cold weather, and these still have a trigger finger that you can operate your chainsaw with. Gives you a little bit better hand dexterity. Otherwise, I've got flip open mitts here, and I've got some regular, just leather work mitts. A couple hats in case I need one if I get out here and it's too cold. Ear muffs for the chainsaw. You want to have some hearing protection. I should have eye protection too, but I find it hard to get something to work with ear muffs and shield your eyes unless I get another proper chainsaw helmet. I broke mine some time ago and I just haven't bothered. Also, I've got a bag here where I keep my chainsaw file. You want to have one of these with you. So that if you're working for several hours, you can stop and sharpen your chainsaw. You can carry a puck like this for sharpening your axe, but realistically, you only sharpen your axe every, couple weeks. So you do that at home most often. You don't really need that. But I've got one in here anyway. Also my tape for marking trees. I've got some blue and some orange tape that I carry, and I carry my wrench for my chainsaw. So that of course brings me to the chainsaw itself. I carry that out with me. Bring a rag with you when you got a chainsaw, and then when you change your oil or add oil to it, add gasoline, you can wipe off around where you do that, just so sawdust doesn't go into where your oil and gas go. Carry water with you to stay hydrated. This time of year, wintertime, I'm using light chainsaw oil. So I bring some of this with me and some mixed gas back here in the can. For tools, well, I'll go to these first. I've got my snowshoes that we showed last video repaired, and they're holding up well. An axe or two. I've got two here with me today. This one I like to use for limbing, and this one here I'll bang at small trees when I'm out. A bow saw, bush cutters, and a brush axe. So this is everything that I haul along with me when I'm out doing my logging. And now I'm going to go out to work for a little while, and I'll show you some practical application where I'm actually using these tools. The chainsaw, of course, is used to cut down larger diameter trees. By larger diameter in my forest, in this block anyway, we're still only talking 6, maybe 8-inch diameter at the most. This one here is probably a 5-inch diameter white birch tree. And even still, to do this with a bow saw that I did my first few years when I was out here, it takes a lot of effort to saw through that type of diameter. The chainsaw makes the work go a lot faster and more efficiently. And this time of year, I'm only cutting solo trees because if they're in a clump, I don't want to damage all the other trees in that same clump. It's basically the same tree. So I'm cutting solo trees. I'm also cutting them, you'll notice, quite high, usually up above the ribbon that I've placed. I've got this ribbon a little bit high on the tree trunk. But that way, because I can't get to the base of this tree, I don't want to cut down really low and end up with a stump that big to come back and cut off, because then that stump is not really worth me even taking the effort to haul out of here. Whereas if I leave a log that, I would normally put on my shoulder and carry out, I still have a good chunk of firewood sitting here, and it's not going to sit in this state for very long. We'll cut this down by spring, and so I just have to do a second pass now through my forest and cut off all of these remaining logs and carry them out in the springtime, and then I'll have a cut really close to the ground that I won't trip on in the future. I just leave the orange ribbon there on the tree, and because I've cut above it, that now gives me a marker so that I know in the spring to come back and knock that tree down. If I were to remove the ribbon or cut below it and not replace it, then I'm not as easily able to see the trees in the spring to come back and cut down that 8-foot portion that remains. And then on a tree this diameter, I also use the chainsaw to do the first few cuts. So there's one cut of about an 8-foot length, and then moving up the tree, I did another cut up here, and I'll come back with the bow saw and cut up whatever remains. The diameter's small enough now at the top of the tree here that that's easy to cut with my bow saw and limb with my axe, and I'll take the final piece away of firewood after I do that. But the chainsaw gets the bulk of the wood for me cut up and ready to be hauled out of the woods. The chainsaw blade sometimes gets wedged a little bit when you go to cut through the trunk, just because of the way the pressure might be laying with the tree. You either have to come up from underneath or down this way, and you still might bind. So there's where the axe also comes in handy, is just to break whatever's left between the two pieces. And then you've got a cut you can take out of here. After the chainsaw cuts the logs into lengths, you come with the axe and take off any of the limbs. As a bit of advice, it's easier to cut the limbs from below them when they're going in that direction than to try to come down this way at the limb. The joint is stronger in this direction here, so you'll do a lot more chopping, and it's just hard to get your axe into this type of a spot. So you come from down below the branch here, and then this stuff here will go on the fence behind me, and I'll take what's good for firewood up to about this diameter here on this birch tree. So down to, like, you know, 1.5 inches maybe diameter I'll use. Anytime you're swinging your axe in a direction like this, make sure you hang on to that thing well and you've got nothing like your dog or whatever down from you, because it's very easy for an axe to slip out of your hands when you're doing any type of an upcut. So, but you don't want to have to change your body position all the time to do the safest cut around a log. So just because of efficiency, you lose that idea pretty quick when you're out here. The bow saw is then used to do my final cut here at the top of my branches and anything that I might have missed with the chainsaw, because you don't want to have to start your chainsaw up just to cut through little things like that. So the bow saw comes in handy there, and sometimes if I miss a cut further down the limb, I'll do that as well with the bow saw. The bush cutters can be more efficient than the axe in some instances. And there's times where you get cutting on a small diameter maple like this, and it just bounces too much for the axe. It becomes sort of unsafe to be hacking away at. And so that's when I'll take my bush cutters and just come along and take this stuff out. And I will take to quite a small diameter, less than 1 inch when it comes to maple, because this is my best firewood out here. And I don't cut as much maple as I do birch. And so I try to keep as much of this as I possibly can. You can see that's a lot easier than me angling my axe to try to get in here to cut all of those. regular axe or a bow saw can be used on smaller garbage trees like this. I more often use the bow saw when I'm cutting down small hardwoods, and for small softwoods like this I'll use my larger axe. So I really don't care what kind of a job it does down here. We're just going to get rid of some of this stuff out of our way. Like it'll push over. Okay, and then the brush axe is used exclusively for spots like this here, for taking all of these small limbs out of my way. It does a great job coming down the tree trunks cleanly. This then gives me the ability to move around freely. Makes for better logs in the future. And so if I keep the tree, it'll heal these wounds and be a better log down the road. If I cut the tree down, well, no odds. I still got to do this when I go to debark it. So this is what a section of woods looks like when you first come into it. And the first thing I generally do is the limbing and the taking out of these like small, really small diameter garbage trees. And that gets everything out of my way and opens it up for me to come back and assess what trees I want to keep and eventually log the ones that I don't want to keep. See what a difference that makes around me. The axe is also used when I come across a branch that's too large for the brush axe, you know, about that kind of diameter. Then I'd come at that with the axe more than likely. The blade on this is just not meant to take large diameter stuff, but it does a great job coming down with all these little junk limbs like that on the sides of these trees. Loco, come! Loco's all the way down on the river. You were out exploring the river, were you? Good boy. Star of the show right there. Hopefully that video covers all the main equipment that we use out here logging in the winter time. We've got our bush cutters for cutting small limbs of downed hardwood trees mostly, if you want to make quick work of that, and other small trees. Only this time of year I can't use these because I can't get to the base of my trees, my little stuff to go and cut. I've got two axes, one for breaking apart logs if the chainsaw doesn't go through them totally, and for busting those logs apart, and for taking down smaller trees. Another axe for limbing large limbs, a brush axe for limbing small limbs, a bow saw for cutting the heads of trees, mostly that are downed, sometimes smaller diameter hardwood trees, and of course the chainsaw for cutting all my large stuff up and junking it. The last piece of equipment that you need is good gear. So you might be able to see the snow coming out of the tree here. I designed this coat specifically for this type of work. I've got a hood on it to keep anything from coming down my neck, as well as this collar that cinches tight around my neck. That keeps the snow from coming down inside of the jacket when I'm out here working and knocking on trees like this. I've got Cordura nylon on the sleeves and shoulder, and that's for the abrasion when I'm carrying logs up on my shoulder and moving them around. I don't tear my jacket. This is actually a Filson wool coat that I found at a secondhand store, and then I patched all this other stuff together to make this work. Cordura nylon and the cotton on this jacket, the vent tile, that keeps me waterproof largely and maintains the insulating layer underneath. It makes it a lot more durable. The wool insulating layer allows things to vent really well. It's all just open here on the sides, and so it allows for moisture to go as you're working really well. And underneath this, I often just wear a t-shirt unless it's a really cold night, and then I might wear a proper base layer and even sometimes a thin sweater. But a lot of the time, just a t-shirt, and if I start to overheat, I'll just unbutton everything and allow the air in. Also great that it has pockets in it, so I usually keep a roll of my blue tape and orange tape in these upper pockets, and then as I go I can just pull that out and mark my trees with it. And I keep my headlamp in here. This can go on over my hood here like this at nighttime, because I work out here a lot in the night, and I don't have a brim on the hood for this reason, that I can then use my light a little bit better, and it doesn't get obstructed by having a large brim here underneath it. Oh yeah, and the sled over here speaks for itself, and also the snowshoes, we covered those. That should give you guys a good idea of what equipment to bring out here in the woods. I hope it helps for all the aspiring, I hope that helps for all the people aspiring to come out in the woods and do what I do. I don't think there's many of us, but good luck to you all.